Hey there everyone, back with a brand new update video. Let's get started. So I weighed myself this morning and something really weird happened and I'm not exactly sure why. So I woke up at like 6:40 because my mom asked me to take out the trash because I completely forgot to take out the trash the other night. But when I woke up, I decided to check what I weighed. I was 153.6, which was only 0.4 pounds down from yesterday, which I was kind of bummed out about because I'm pretty sure I followed all the things I needed to do, calorie deficit, low carb, decent amount of exercise, things like that. So I took out the trash and then I decided to go back to sleep. When I woke up again, I decided at around 9 o'clock, I decided to check my weight again. Now, keep in mind, first time I checked my weight, I used the restroom. And then the second time I checked my weight, I also used the restroom. And what I found was, when I woke up the second time, I found out that I was like 152.8 pounds. So I think that's honestly pretty interesting, don't you? So I guess I'm 152.8 because that's the lower number and that was a more recent number than the last one. But I honestly don't know what determines the overall weight. But there you go. Interesting little side factoid there. Well, what was eaten today? In the morning, I had the Atkins lemon bar, and I had the Atkins peanut butter wafer bar, and a cup of coffee. In the afternoon, my sister so graciously made a tuna and pepper jack cheese sandwich that she brought over to my job today, which I was very grateful for. Really appreciate that. And she even brought one of my Quest spicy chips with her too, which I wasn't expecting, but I was all for. She even brought a diet soda called Mr. Thunder, I think, or Dr. Thunder, something like that, which is Walmart's off-brand version of Dr. Pepper. Of course, it was diet, so no sugar, meaning no carbs. So yeah, it was a pretty awesome meal. I really enjoyed it. Then later on in the day, when I got off of work and arrived from home, where I got a drive from my sister halfway through my walk, I got a really nice surprise in the form of a meal made by my mom and my sister. This was a roast beef. There was another vegetable that was cooked that I'm forgetting the name of right now. I think it was a turnip. Yeah, a turnip. Which was quite good. It was like steamed and like cooked with the roast beef, so it had the flavor of the roast beef in it. So it was very flavorful, although it was a little bit salty. Green beans and oh yeah, and then I had another Dr. Thunder. So overall, pretty good meal. And then I had a cup of tea, jasmine tea, with sweetened with equal. And after that, I took my vitamins, and that's pretty much what I put in my body today. Now, when it comes to exercise, just walking around the store that I work at, running around the store that I work at. So nothing too crazy when it comes to, exercise. Well, now that we've got our diet update out of the way, let's move on to the daily update. So let's get started. So, like I said earlier, I woke up at 6:30 by my mom to take out the trash. I did just that, and then I immediately went back to bed. And then when I got up later, around 9, I got a call from my job asking if I could go to work from 10 to 7 instead of the original time, which was 3 to 7. Of course, I said yes because I'm really strapped for cash right now and I need the money. So, I accepted the offer and then I started getting ready for work. When my mom arrived, I greeted her. She said she dropped off her car to get an oil change and she walked back. My car's also still in the shop too, otherwise I would have given her a ride. And since it was the same shop that my car's getting worked on, I asked what the mechanic thinks might be the issue. She said they believe it has something to do with the ignition key. The problem with that, though, is that would mean that they'd have to replace the ignition key, and the problem with that is that my car is from 2005, so that would mean that the vehicle would need to get its ignition key from a car of the same vintage year. Who knows, maybe they use the same ignition key like from 2005 to 2007 or whatever. I wouldn't know, I'd have to research that, but they'd have to do some research on that, and I would have to do some research on that too because it's my car. So yeah, I thought, oh, that's interesting, so they're gonna have to do some research. Alright, said that word a little too much. Okay, well, anyways, after hearing about that, I was like, oh, okay. And then I got dressed and ready for work. Once I was ready to go, I asked my sister when she got up if it'd be all right if she could give me a lift to work, and she said yes. So I got a ride to work, and I arrived pretty early, like 9:57. Normally I'm like either like exactly on the time or actually more often like a minute or two a little ahead, so, or yeah. But anyways, yeah. Well, after that, I punched in, and yeah, this was a pretty busy day today, not going to lie. So for the first hour, I remember yeah, I had lot the first hour. Went fine. Brought carts in. Helped customers out. Asked if they needed a cart. They said yes, I gave them one. If they said no, I wouldn't. Sometimes they'd say I'd want the bigger one. Sometimes they'd say I'd want the smaller one. And I wouldn't have those on hand at the time. If I did, I'd give it to them. So that's pretty much a summation of how that went. It was a really nice day today, weather-wise. I really liked the weather. Very perfect, like I think 70 degrees or something like that. Big thumbs up on that. Well, yeah, I was pushing carts and then went back inside to do an hour of bagging. And that went pretty well. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I was like in a really good mood today. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe it was just the nice weather. Maybe it was I was listening to like some meditative music before going to sleep the other night, so perhaps it had something to do with that. Whatever the reason is, I was feeling quite positive. So that was pretty cool. Then the third hour came, and that was lot. So I remember I wanted to go on my first break, but I was asked to do my first hour of, or my third hour during lot instead. So I did that. My third hour at my job and my second time doing lot that day. There you go. And so I did, and pretty much the same thing as the first time. No issues. Loved the weather. Mostly nice people. Yeah, there was a few people who were, they were all right. Like honestly, I didn't really have any issues at all. When I say mostly, I really mean everybody. So, yeah. All right. What was I gonna say? Right. When I came back from my lot, I asked for my break. I was given exception. My request was accepted, and then I decided to get my water canteen refilled. I called my mom, and then my sister, because my mom didn't pick up, but my sister would pick up, to see if they could drive me home so I could like make my own meal, because I didn't want to spend any money today, because again, strapped for cash, and I didn't want to spend any more than necessary. But my sister was kind enough to make a tuna and cheese sandwich for me, pepper jack cheese. So I was very grateful for that. Yeah, and the chips and the soda. She said she'd bring it like about 5 minutes before my lunch break and delivered, and very grateful. Thank you. And I got the packaging. I punched out for lunch, and I walked upstairs to our break room, and I had the meal. And it was very good. And as I was eating, I was listening to a new video from the Simmy and Jimmy Treehouse channel, where Simmy and Jimmy, Eggy Eggman Rodriguez, Low Res Wonderbread, and the fourth guy I'm forgetting the name of right now, were all reviewing this new film made by a YouTuber called Chris Stuckman. And it was basically like supposed to be like based on what I could surmise and what they were talking about. It was supposed to be like a horror movie, but it becomes like self-aware of itself like around the middle point. And apparently like they were like, not big fans of the film. So yeah, sounds like a shame. I remember watching Chris Stuckman back in the day, but I haven't really caught up with that guy's stuff in recent memory. Like, to be honest, like the whole movie thing for me has kind of been on a real standstill for a while now. Like, I don't say I don't watch movies anymore, but I feel like it has to be a movie that really captures my attention to get me to want to look forward to seeing it. And I feel like there just really hasn't been that many interesting films out as of late, like for the past year and a half. So I kind of been like super disconnected from the whole movie sphere for a while. Like most of my attention still goes to like it just goes to stuff like gaming, YouTube, or aliens, like which is pretty silly. But that's the truth. And yeah, I used to be like huge into movies. Like I remember like I would always like look forward to like new releases and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's coming out. I can't wait to see what that is." I feel like the last film where I was like had that type of hype was probably Dune Part 2 maybe. But after that, like it's just been so sparse. Like I don't know what's going on with the whole movie thing. Like I think it might have something to do with those Hollywood strikes from like the early 2020s, and how like it put a bunch of projects on standstill, and it's causing this just excruciatingly slow production schedule for a lot of studios to get their stuff out there, and it's causing theaters to hurt significantly because they don't have stuff to show. And so you're just getting a really disappointing return. Like I was reading into AMC's like financial reports recently, and apparently they lost like 229 million like this year in their last quarter. That's pretty bad. Yeah. I just think it's because there's just not enough interesting stuff that's getting released. Like, and I feel like people's attention now more than ever has been extremely like challenged. Like now people like movies have to contend with stuff like TikTok and YouTube and streaming and all this stuff, and it's probably like an extremely harsh and difficult environment for like traditional films to succeed. And not saying that they can't still succeed. Like I'm sure like stuff like that Wicked for Good movie will probably do well because it's like has that star power of that famous singer I'm not remembering right now. But yeah, I feel like a lot of like the stuff that does big numbers these days, it's either a recognizable IP, it has a big name attached to it that people recognize, or it's somehow an established director like a Christopher Nolan or a what's the other guy? The guy who did Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino. Like it has to be like either a big name director, a big name star, or an extremely popular IP that's ingrained in the culture for it to have any chance at doing well these days. Because people aren't gonna go see like Schmigen Schmorgen Schmugen at the theater. They're gonna watch like that's the new SpongeBob movie, or that's the new Superman movie, or that's the new Simpsons movie. You see all the stuff that's been doing really well in the box office recently. Barbie, Minions, and it's basically just like things that like have as broad of appeal as humanly possible. And yeah, like if you want to make a interesting deep film, then the only way you're going to get anyone who has any kind of an interest in seeing and reacting to would be to show it at film festivals. Like, if you want your movie to get like an audience that would totally go and see it. But if you're trying to appeal to the masses, I don't know about that. Like, you'd have to, it would appear these days you would have to sell out a bit. And, that sucks to say, but it seems to be like where things are headed. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like as long as you have a really great story, really strong characters, an exceptional presentation, like at K-pop Demon Hunters, for example. That movie came out of nowhere, and no one had any expectation for it when it initially was announced. And then it comes on Netflix, and it's the biggest thing ever. And, a lot of people watch it, and they can't stop talking about it. Why? Well, it's probably because it has catchy tunes, it has very enduring and lovable looking animation, and it's just got a story that's easy to follow and easy to get emotionally behind because of said animation and music. So it's just like great. It seems like all you need is like nice music, good presentation, and just a easy to follow through long story, and you're set up for success, it would appear. And I don't know, you look at K-pop Demon Hunters is kind of a lot like how stuff like Star Wars comes about. You take things that seem like they shouldn't work together, and you combine them together, and then like they end up being huge successes. Like Star Wars was basically like Seven Samurai, Akira Kurosawa's Secret Fortress, but it was in space, and instead of samurais, it was space wizards. Um, and then there were sprinklings of World War II in there. And then with, you know, K-pop Demon Hunters, it's got that obvious like anime influence in it. But it's got sort of that American flavor because it was made in America by Sony Pictures Animation. But it's also got well, okay, maybe not made. Maybe like pre-production was in American. They maybe sourced out the animation in Canada, but I don't know for sure. Do your own research. Like at this point, I'm just saying what I surmise, but I don't really know. I'd have to do my own research. But anyways, yeah, this film, K-pop Demon Hunters, just was a huge hit because it just ticked all the boxes of things that people like and some combined them into one thing that was extremely appealing. I think it's still in the top spot at Netflix. Like, really big film. Anyways, all this to say, like I got on a long movie rant, is that I for whatever reason these days, instead of getting excited about new releases, I just enjoy hearing average Joes talk about films they're passionate about over like getting excited about films myself, which is a bizarre position to be in. You would think, oh no, you should be excited about the movies that are coming out or like that you find interesting. And I mean, there are films that I do find interesting. Like I like all my childhood films, like all the classic Pixar's, like Ratatouille, Incredibles, Wall-E, Finding Nemo, Toy Story, all that good stuff. And I do have like films I enjoy, like what was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is really quirky and fun and lighthearted, and yeah, there's just and I also really like man, what was another film I enjoy? I really like the one that Contact. Contact is a film that I really enjoy. Very atmospheric, very foreboding. Doesn't tell you everything, just keeps you guessing and hanging on. I like stuff like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's a really good movie. Because I love animation and I also like a good story, and it does both really well, and just the techniques they did to make it look as compelling as they could was incredible. Like, to this day, there's not a single animation live action hybrid film that even comes close to looking as good and believable as Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And it was just the time it was made, like they were able to do such amazing stuff with it that before computers, right at the cusp before computers became integrated into film industry. And yeah, magical time. I like that stuff. Never Ending Story. Great film. Great film. Yeah. Okay, this has become an extremely long discussion about like the film industry and why things like succeed in my opinion, and then what things I like. I've kind of gone off on a tangent, haven't I? I guess it's just when I find something that I get really passionate about, I really like to dive deep into it and talk about it, like it's pretty interesting. But anyways, I guess we should move on. So after my lunch break, I remember I was going downstairs and punched back in, and once again, first hour lot went pretty well. Second hour, front end bagging, that went well too. Very friendly to the customers. I would always say, hello, how are you? They'd always say, doing well, how are you? And I'd be like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. And sometimes there'd be some fun, interesting, like, conversations. Like, we talked about Pee Wee Herman randomly one time about how like, he was a huge influence on the culture, and how it was a shame, like from that Pee-wee documentary as himself that, well, I recently watched, that, they would go after him because he was like the host of a kids show, and they wanted to get any dirt they could on him, which was very sad. But that was just how things were at the time. It's definitely a different landscape now. I think celebrities were just more under a hard glance because they were the biggest things at the time, always in like news and media. But now they're competing for stuff like for social media influencers and content creators and people like that now, who like those people who just like make content or talk about what they like, and now there's like, ooh, what's the drama on that? It's always interesting to see how the media landscape changes over time. But yeah, that was an interesting conversation we had about that. Really, really enjoyed that. And then my third hour was out on lot, went pretty well. And the fourth and final hour, we were bagging. I remember one of the last things that happened was that I was bagging with one of my coworkers who's been working at the store that I've been working at for longer than anyone else. And we got into this conversation that was really silly. It was about like, do you think when someone says get home safe, do they think they mean it? Or are they just saying that? And the guy said, I don't know. And then another guy said, I believe it. And then the last guy said, no. And it was interesting. It was interesting seeing those different reactions. And it gave me a good laugh. Like, sometimes work can get a little, boring. So getting interesting reactions like that and just seeing what people have to say definitely makes the day more entertaining and interesting, and I appreciate that. But yeah. Oh, and I did get a call from my car mechanic, who did say that he's going to look into getting a new starter, or at least attempt to try to find a decent starter that he thinks won't have any issues for the car. But in the meantime, he's saying I should pick my car up before the part comes in, because it's going to take a while. And that my car, for whatever reason, it starts fine when he does it. And it started fine when my mom did it. But whenever I do it, it's fine most of the time. But then, randomly, there's times, especially at night, when the weather's kind of cold, where I try to turn it on, and I turn the key, and it won't start, which is ridiculous. Like, it makes the engine starting sound, and then I try pressing a bit on the gas pedal to see if that might help, and then like it sounds like it's gonna start, and then it just dies down, and I just keep on turning it, and it sounds like it's gonna really start, and I just keep on doing that, and nothing. And that only happens at night, and extremely sporadically. Like, it happened. It's the reason why I brought my car in the shop recently. It was also the reason why I brought my car in the shop about a month ago. So I honestly don't know what's the deal with that, because in the morning started just fine, but at night doesn't want to start. Very strange. But yeah. Anyways, I punched out. As I was punching out, I was saying goodbye to everybody, and then I was walking home. Got a call from my sister, said she was going to pick me up, so I said, I'm in this location, and she drove up and grabbed me. And I remember the car she drove in, there's like a little bit of a thing hanging in the front, and it was scratching on the car, and I was like, hey, I knew it was you because I could hear the scratch on the floor. And she said, oh my gosh, how embarrassing, but that's hilarious, I love it. And yeah, that was pretty funny. Then we drove back, and when we got back, dinner was ready. So I got a beverage, the Mr. Thunder. I asked my mom and my sister if they would like any, and they were like, nah, we're good. So I got my beverage, and we all ate together. It was pretty good, and we started talking about like different things, like I randomly brought up like the aliens from Star Wars Episode One, the Phantom Menace, that that talked with like a stereotypical accent, like we were not aware of such a disturbance. And it was like, dang, wow, how come no one got upset about this? No one's, but I guess because like they're just so like alien looking, people don't really like care. But for whatever reason, my mom told me that like a lot of people were upset about Jar Jar Binks, and we were like, oh man, why are these characters being targeted by like people? It's like they're just silly characters, you know. And then got to talk about The Simpsons, and then we decided, oh, let's watch The Simpsons. So we found an episode and we watched it. It was pretty hilarious. It was called Krusty Gets Busted. One of the more interesting things about that episode was the person who directed it was Brad Bird, the guy behind The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Ratatouille. And then he split away for a while to do like live action. He did like Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, I believe, and he also did a film based off of the Tomorrowland section of Disneyland, which was an interesting choice. And I remember watching that movie and going, meh, it's okay, I guess. And then he finally returned to animation with Incredibles 2 in around, like, I think 2018. Interesting to return to a franchise after 14 years of leaving it. But yeah. And he did this Simpsons episode. I didn't know he was a Simpsons director, but apparently he was. That would explain the quality of the episode. It was a really funny, well-paced, well-presented, well-timed episode that I would definitely watch again, given the chance. Not immediately, but if I were to like go through a Simpsons binge, I would really enjoy that episode. It's got a lot of great moments. Now, after we watched that one, we decided to watch one of the more recent Simpsons, just for comparison. This one was about tech CEOs who are on like a private island in New Zealand, and they have the Simpsons arrive, and they they have a little get together, and there's a bunch of little jabs about like, you know, wealthy CEOs trying to live forever, and there was other like commentary on like you know, stealing ideas and patents for growing business instead of for the good of humanity. Yeah, it was very much an episode that definitely felt like it was written by fans of the Y-Files, with stuff like references to, you know, endless energy machines and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, this was made by the people who probably watch the Y-Files when they're not writing The Simpsons. Yeah, pretty funny. Because Y-Files made an episode about endless energy devices, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, after we were done watching that, I decided to get ready for bed by taking my vitamins, taking a shower, and putting my clothes in the wash, as well as my bedding, because my bedding needed to be washed. It's getting a little musky smelling, if I'm being honest with you. And then I decided to record this. I haven't brushed my teeth yet, but I'm going to, and I'm going to have to go to bed pretty early today because I need to wake up by like 7 to 7:30 so I can get ready and go to my auto shop to pick up my car, and then collaborate and discuss with the mechanic about what to do next. Now, that's pretty much it. So this was quite a involved episode. I mean, we started out like how we normally do with the whole diet update thing, and then we just went on a play-by-play, but then we got to a whole discussion about movies and filmmaking and animation and yeah, it was a pretty wild ride, I would say. But that's gonna do it for now. But before I go, what are 3 things I'm grateful for today? Well, I'm grateful for my mom and my sister for being there for me and helping me when I need help. I really appreciate that. I'm really grateful. I'm of course grateful that I got a full shift today instead of a half shift, so I can get a little more money. So, because I need it to help with expenses and things like that. And I am grateful that I am losing weight and trying to get to my desired goal of 145. And I'm just continuing to cling on to that and do my best. So that's awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in. And I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody, and have yourselves a great night.